All right, welcome to Going to Space today. Thank you. I am glad to see you all here. So, this is, as far as I know, the only Kink panel for MCFC. So,
what was Drunken Doodles?
A hell of a lot of fun.
They were up there in like outfits. Did you not see Battery?
You know, I can't argue that point.
Furries aren't Kink.
All right. So, just to get a general idea here, how many people in the audience do we have that have experience with Kink outside of the furry community? Awesome! Okay.
Deviants, all of you. Just kidding. This is the Christian Reform. I shouldn't stand up. I'm still recovering.
All right. So, I'm Blackstripe.
Hi, Blackstripe.
Welcome, Blackstripe.
I didn't say I was going to help the
put her.
I did indeed. Or more like she volunteered and I was not going to tell her no.
You were going to tell her no.
Hell no, not for coming up here with me. I mean, she has to subject herself to this.
Not for coming.
Yeah. I'm just fucking barely alive right now. I don't know if I'm productive. Keep going.
Mine, you are... I'm going to give you a hug.
I love you so much. We're a really good team. I can tell.
What are you going to talk about today?
Coming.
All right, so this panel is about kinky headspaces. You know, the altered state of mind that you get into during scenes, whether it be subspace or pup space, kitten space, little space. There's a bunch of different kinds. We're going to kind of touch on a lot of it. So, I'm Blackstripe. I've been in the furry community since I was about 12. Been kinky for more than half my life. I am 34. I've been kink involved for 18 years. I'll let you do the math of when I got started. So, let's see. You have to forgive me. This is the first time I'm doing this, so I've got to check it out.
It can be very nerve-wracking talking to people. Shut up. I don't give a fuck anymore. Y'all can hate me. That's how you learn to get over it.
All right.
Trick.
So when it comes to kink, my specialties are mainly sensation play, mental and emotional control. I have a particular fondness for knife play, proficient with impact, and a bunch of other things. But my real specialty is getting into people's heads and figuring out what buttons to push, how to push them, and then how to hit them with a sledgehammer.
That doesn't sound fun.
Wait, the buttons or the sub?
Both. Hey, I mean, you have a mallet that has a softer head. You could do some work with that. You know, get one of the rubber ones that's got a bit squished on. Yeah, you can use that.
Really big fucking hole coming right up.
Now all I'm imagining is just one of those inflatable mallets.
Yeah, that kind.
I've seen it done. All right. So to start off, we're going to go over just a few general kink terms for those of us who might be a little less experienced in the community, because unfortunately, furries get a lot of stuff very crossed when it comes to kink. And me being someone who straddles both worlds, both, you know, the furry community and the IRL kink community outside of furries, I really want to spread a bit more awareness of what some of this stuff actually means and actually is. So, who wants to give a shout of what a safe word is? Alright, go. Be loud.
A safe word is something that indicates that a scene either needs to pause or completely come to a stop.
Exactly. It is your way of saying something is wrong or something needs to stop. I need this taken out of context of a scene and listen to me seriously. There is a lot of people who use their individual safe words. Luna, what's yours?
Which one?
Which one?
Honestly, I have two. I have one that's tadpole, and for me that means don't stop the scene. Something's wrong. We just need to adjust, or like just something small needs to be fixed. Because when you're in a scene and something's happening, and you're like, I don't want it to stop. Just adjust a little bit. And then I have another one that's my complete stop one that I say tap out, because If you're gagged, you can at least try to tap out so you can verbally or physically indicate, I need the scene to stop.
Yep. And me, I'm fairly fond of the color call system. Your stoplight. Green, everything good, keep going as planned. Yellow, no further of the current thing, it needs to stay where it's at or below. Red, this needs to stop. This in particular activity is a no-go. And then red, 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 scene end, immediately go to aftercare and figuring out what went wrong.
No. What's the other color? There's one more.
I knew the brat would bring it up. All right. Liar.
Just don't make eye contact, it'll be okay.
All right, the secret fourth color. If you ever really want to piss a dom off and have them go to town on you, if they ask what color, beige.
I'm bored.
Beige is, I'm bored. You need to do more.
My friend went to a very bad place with knife play. God damn it!
No.
Little shit!
Come on, I used to.
I have a name. Rude. Nothing about
Girl. All right.
I have triage.
So, the most important thing you can do before a scene ever starts, negotiation. Where you go over with your play partner what you expect from the scene, what you want to do with it, limits, boundaries, all that good stuff. It's one of the most important things you can do with any scene is to negotiate the terms of what that scene is going to entail. You want to talk over everything of, is there any medical concerns that could come up? Are there any issues with trauma that need to be avoided? Is there anything particular you're looking to get out of the scene, something you do want? All that stuff is what you want to bring up during the negotiations, and it's one of the most critical parts of any kink experience.
If your dom or your top, whoever you're playing with, does not go over this stuff, that is not a safe way or to get into anything, especially if you're intoxicated. Don't dom and drink.
Yep.
Don't sub and drink either.
Yep.
Okay, do as I say, not as I do.
I was about to...
See my face?
Yes, I did.
I
I
was
saw
about
your
to go there.
face.
It's like, as a general rule, play sober. I don't always follow that rule myself. I'm bad about that. Sometimes I play with people who are already a little on stuff. But it is a general rule. You want to play sober, especially if it's your first time with a partner. You want to have a clear head going in so you understand everything you're going into. Once you're comfortable with the person, relax that a bit if you want. But, at least for a first time, you want to be sober when you play.
I mean, not to call people out, or if you're even comfortable, from any kind of a situation like that, and I include myself, has anyone had a very bad situation from not discussing those terms before? You can raise your hand.
Does anyone want to share that story? You would?
I didn't tell my pop I was on 2 gummies before. And he was kind of upset. My 2 best friends got kind of punished.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really good to disclose that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I found out later after that.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't too happy.
Yep, but hey, at least they addressed it in a reasonable manner.
Yes, he did.
Good.
You live, you learn.
Mm-hmm.
I had a scene one time, it didn't quite go poorly, it just didn't go quite the way that either I or the Dom would have liked or expected. I had sort of positioned myself without totally discussing, limits and like what we were going to do, and I sort of like jumped into it. And I learned my lesson. I ended up becoming a lazy top toy the rest of the day because there was some impact play, and I didn't quite know how I felt about it. But I actually would go back again for seconds, except this time more discussing the scene in depth. So I think I kind of like it. At least I liked being a lazy top toy the rest of the day.
Yep. So then on the next on the list for terms, of course, the dominant and top, a lot of people like to think these are interchangeable. They are not. Dom is going to be the person in control of a situation. The one guiding and instructing and controlling. A top is just someone who tops. You know, the one doing the penetration in a lot of cases, or in general things like that. But guess what? Dom does not equal top. Top does not equal Dom.
It's funny how that gets confused a lot.
Yep. Also, just because you have a penis does not make you a Dom. I don't think we have anybody in here that'll probably think that, but yeah. But,
I think there's enough furries in here to know that.
Yeah. But like seriously, on places like FetLife, there are so many people who
FetLife
think...
is cancerous as hell.
Probably not Psych FetLife today.
But so many people on there who think, oh look, I've got a dick, must mean I'm a Dom. No. Alright, and conversely, sub does not always equal bottom. And bottom does not always equal sub. There are plenty of people out there who are subs, who when it comes to sex and stuff, are strictly tops. They want to be the ones doing the fucking, even if their partner is the one firmly in control. And also, kink does not always necessarily involve sex. In fact, for a lot of cases, when I scene, I make it a point, if it's like at a party or something, I stay clothed. Because I want to create that disconnect between people getting some scene play and expecting sex to be a part of it. It is not. Sex might be offered, but that is even more selective than the scene. I'll play with just about anybody. I will have sex with very, very few.
Alright, is anyone else like that, where they prefer just kink but not sex?
Woo! Can I raise my hand higher?
Yeah, and that's great. Kink is for everybody. It doesn't matter what sexuality you are, if you're asexual or any mix of anything, kink is for everyone.
As long as you're consensual.
Yes, actually getting to that. Alright, so there are two terms that are kind of the watchwords of the kink community. Does anybody want to take a guess at the 3-letter acronym and the 4-letter acronyms? Go.
SSC.
Bingo.
And the other one is RACK.
Right, SSC and RAC. Safe, sane, consensual, and risk-aware, consensual kink. Those are kind of the watchwords of the kink community. It's how we give a quick description of what is responsible and irresponsible. If someone says that they have a lot of experience in kink and is bragging about all those things they've done and they do not know at least one of those, they are lying to you.
Or just avoid that person. They're faking it. They're just trying to get in your pants.
Yep.
And has anybody had an experience with that? About somebody just pretending that they know what they're doing just to get in your pants?
Anyone want to share a quick story on that one? You're going to have to be loud.
This is a dude that was trying to get me to have an affair with him while I was dating my boyfriend.
Ooh, always a red flag.
Yeah, and he kept trying to say that he, do all these things for me, and I'm like, no. And he didn't even know half the stuff that I was into, so I'm just like, and then eventually I just kind of was like, yep. Anyway, so here's a block.
Good call.
Something I want to highlight here too.
Go for it, Delta.
It's not necessarily that the person just wanting to fuck is bad. The problem is that there's the dishonesty there and that they're pretending to be your friend for it. What that person should really do is be honest about their intentions. Find someone else with those same intentions rather than the entire dishonesty of it. That's where it all goes wrong. Is when you're not open, transparent, honest about your intentions, that's where everything falls apart.
Yep.
I see Voss in the back.
Uh-huh.
Question.
Go for it.
I've been around the block a few times, and I've heard safe, consensual. I've never heard RAC.
Nice RAC.
Stuff like somophilia stuff?
So RAC is risk-aware consensual kink. It's an alternative to SSC, And it really sprang from two people having a disagreement of what the acronym should be. They both work, they're both good things to go by, but it really got down to a dick measuring contest between the two people who came up with them. Yeah, and by the way, anybody who tries to pull the twoo dumb routine and say that only one is valid or the other, yeah, probably want to skip that person too.
Red flag.
I see a hand up back there. Yes, with the ears. Yes.
Yes, you. Okay, so the add-on and the person in the front that mentioned, like, you know, their intentions were only to, like, be sexual and not be emotional. I've been in situations where it's like that was my perspective, and then they kind of like fell for me, and then you got to be a heartbreaker, and that's always awful. So like discussing those beforehand, the boundaries, like, are you ready for a relationship? Is this just like semi-platonic? Is this work? Like, what is it? That's always good to.
Yep, and that all goes back to what I said. The negotiations are the most important part of a scene. You always want to be very clear with what you expect from it.
Oh, exactly. And for like some of us who have like sexual trauma, it's like discuss those things. If you're ever discussing your sexual trauma or somebody, they're like, oh, I'm sure it'll be fine. Run away.
Yep. If they do not, if the person you're with does not take the time to understand your needs in the scene and help to give you assurances and comfort that you will be taken care of, and those issues can be either avoided or in some cases can very much be a catharsis for some traumas. They may want specific things done because of the trauma that helps them to relieve the tension from it. Again, that all ties back to the negotiation.
Are you trying to like connect someone?
No,
No,
it's the face
reading
scan.
off the phone.
Oh, it's the face.
Yeah, the face scan.
You're so smart. I never have my phone
All right.
locked.
It takes too much time.
I've lost it like a bunch of times this week. That's dangerous.
So another important part of anything for safety is a warm-up. You never want to start a scene cold, especially for things like impact or knife play. You always want to warm up wherever you're going to be working on.
It's the same thing as sex. If somebody doesn't at least rev up your engines, you don't start the car.
Yep.
Foreplay is important.
Yep. And because when you go in cold, you can actually cause surface level damage to the skin. You always want to, give them the rub down. Maybe there's some points you even want to use a little bit of baby oil or something. What you got?
Sometimes less is more.
Yes.
Less is definitely more sometimes. You gotta be aware of the sensibility.
Yep.
Be aware of what you and your partner are doing.
Exactly.
Always, even if you think you're gonna be like, oh, I'm asking, are you okay too much? There's no such thing as too much. Always be aware of who you are with and your own emotions.
Yes.
Never be afraid to ask, hey, I need a minute. It can make or break a scene.
Mm-hmm.
That goes for tops too.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Luna. How many times did I ask you for a color call?
I was kind of in my own mind, so it was probably a few in there, but
All right.
I think at some point just called you a bitch.
This one likes to play dangerously.
No, I'm just an asshole.
Well, you have a nice asshole, but no, you're not an asshole.
Okay, thanks for the crotch update.
All right. Now,
Blushing, she's so flattered.
when it comes to kink and safety, I have a little bit of a story. This comes from the House of Primals, now known as Community House, which actually, just reminded myself, it shut down about the time COVID started, but that venue's no longer available. Shit. There's a person that came to that venue quite often that was called Little Miss Red. Now, Little Miss Red was this hot chick style girl that all the guys would always fawn over, some of the girls would always fawn over, and because she always had people chasing around, thought she was a good dom. Then the owner of the venue, Miss Liza, love that woman, me and her are good buddies, and at one point we got to talking. She points out Miss Red to me and leans over and says, she thinks the nickname Little Miss Red comes from the red dress she likes to wear. Nah, it's a warning. She gets that name because she is a safety risk. And I got that put on display for me later that same night. One of the people attending decided they wanted to challenge the house. They wanted to bleed. And the doms around, they all took turns wailing on this guy and giving him exactly what he asked for. Towards the end of it, Miss Red steps up, grabs a flogger, points at the guy who was on a St. Andrew's cross, and says, "Ooh, look, I see a part of this guy's back that hasn't been touched yet," pointing directly at the middle of his spine. She gets her arm back to about here, before 5 people have arms around her, grabbing her arm and physically haul her out of the room and out of the venue, and she was kicked out for the night. We kinky fuckers take our safety and the safety of the people we play with extremely seriously. You don't break the toys you want to keep playing with.
I have a story about that, actually. So I'm coming from Fort Wayne, Indiana, and we used to have a swingers club there called the Champagne Club. Unfortunately, the governor and such of Fort Wayne got it shut down. But I had a partner who was super drunk, and I was super drunk. And they were trying to leash me around and pull me around in this club, and they were trying to take me to the Red Room. And it took my girlfriend and a couple other people to make him stop, because I was in physical pain and like super drunk, stumbling, running into the wall. Like, if you do see something and you know that this is unhealthy or bad, step in.
Yes.
You could be saving somebody so much pain or trauma even.
It's why at places that are specifically kink venues, they always have people referred to as dungeon guards. These are the people that will stand in the room and just kind of watch everything, and what they are watching for is that exact kind of behavior so that they can step in and be the one to go, no. Very important. Also, one last thing to talk on for the safety bit before we move into the actual talk of Headspaces. Kink is not abuse, but kink done wrong can very quickly lead to abuse. So you need to be aware of the signs of that. And if you feel like your partners are not respecting your boundaries, your limits, and not giving you what you need from them, you need to speak up and say something. If you see somebody else who appears to not be handled safely, it is not a problem to go up to them and ask, "Hey, are you okay? Are you safe?" You could literally be saving someone's life.
Would you say that kink could be condensed down to exploration?
Yes.
Like you said, it's not abuse. But I've seen kink a lot of different ways. So what I've done most commonly personally is exploration. So would you say that kink could be considered exploration too?
There is a lot of exploration in kink. It is a lot of finding out what works and what doesn't and testing the waters. I wouldn't say you could condense it down to it. Because, I mean, once you have a firm grasp on what you enjoy and what you want to do, you're not really so much exploring it so much as in retreading those paths to make sure the road stays nice and clear.
Like, I always had to be on top of the relationship. As I mentioned, I have trauma, but recently I learned that exploring kink can help bring out like different sides of you.
Yes. Exactly, it certainly does.
Freeing, I think, is the right word. It's really good, and I don't think I've found a better community than the ones I've found at this convention so far. It's really
good. Going along with you saying exploring, kink itself can actually be a tool for healing.
Very much
as well.
so.
It can be a tool for healing trauma, and when it's done right. I mean, I'm out of myself a little bit here. I am a little and such, or like one of those like little furs and such. It's not something sexual for me. It is for some. That's to consenting adults. I could give two shits.
Absolutely no kink shaming of any point during this. If anyone tries to, you will be ejected.
Hot. So like. I have a lot of childhood trauma, but this is something that helps me with a good caregiver and such that can actually help me come over some of my traumas and such. So kink is, yes, it's exploration as well can be very therapeutic.
Actually, let's get the person here in front of you first. You in the green.
So they're talking about age aggression, right? Like, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so ABDL, adult baby diaper lover, can be a lot of different things. Some of it can involve age regression. Some of it can just be playing the role. There are a lot of different aspects to a lot of different kink. It's really hard to say that one particular kind is just this, but that is definitely a part of it.
I mean, there's no like black or white. It's not just this or just this. It is a spectrum.
Very much so. What you got?
So one thing I always wondered is a lot of people that I know really like rough play when it comes to kink and stuff. How can you differentiate like consensual rough play with like?
Alright, so the people in the back are having a little trouble hearing you, so I'm going to come up to you with the mic.
No, you're not. Wait. Yeet.
One moment, technical difficulties.
Let's see how you untangle these ropes.
Untangle these ropes. How pissed would the constaff be? You just come in here tied up in all the cords.
You know, while you sit there, you can do your rope ties. With the cords.
Yell out, boss. Yell.
While you guys are doing that, I could share.
Got it.
So my question was, when it comes to rough play and stuff, the difference between how you know it's like consensual rough play versus mishandling of kink, how to differentiate that, and how to like, if something does come up, whether to know you should be stopping it or not, I guess.
Okay, that's a great question. How to know when kink is just being rough and when it is turning abusive. A great way to know, watch the face of the sub.
What if their face is like buried in a pillow or against a cross?
That gets a little bit harder.
That's still the communication. There needs to, yeah, the color call, constant communication. If you see that and like something's going on and the dom is not checking,
You say color call and see what they say.
it's better to kill a scene than to kill a person.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. But yeah, watching the faces, watching their reactions to things. Are they moving into what's being done? Are they trying to get away from it? Are they, you know, if it's a heavy impact scene, and are they grimacing hard during the hits, but then going afterwards, or are they grimacing?
Are we just making porn noises now?
No. But there are plenty of ways to tell if somebody is actually enjoying what is being done to them versus really wanting it to stop.
All right, Voss, sorry, patiently waiting.
Hi, well, I was going to say, you want to circle back. I know, I have it over here.
That's okay.
I want to circle back to what you said about kink being something that can feel like traumas.
Yeah.
This convention, okay, so can I be a little intimate with you guys?
Yes, say it, because you said it last night.
As intimate as you want to be.
I was raped by my stepdad for a very long time, and so I've had an inability to get blowjobs. Can't do it, won't do it. Throw up, whole 9 yards, ruin scenes everywhere. With the help of the pub community, this year I was able to submit for 45 minutes.
Congratulations! That is going to be the weirdest tweet I have. Applaud for dick sucking.
No, that applause is not for sucking the dick for 45 minutes. That applause is for overcoming your trauma through kink.
Sorry, I really felt like you said that, and I was like, you saw how excited I got. This is nice to meet.
Kink can be a big catharsis for people with trauma.
I also I feel weird saying I overcame, because, like, let's be honest. We're going to be here forever.
Hey, listen, every fight, no matter how big or how small, is still a goddamn fight.
Yeah, so
The fact that you're still there the next day means you've overcome something.
last con I locked myself in a room and had a panic attack because I was triggered on my own sexual trauma. And this con I walked past it, and Kink helped. Kink got me there. And I did say that to a group of people. Like, I think I overcame some of my childhood sexual trauma. And they were like, cool. You know? And then last night, you said that story, and I jumped up and down with you because that happened to me yesterday also. Like, I feel like I've made headway on this huge thing in my life that has always felt massive. And now I feel like it's a lot smaller, and like I see it at a distance. And that's thanks to Kink, and also really kind partners. And thank you for like talking about it, because I feel like I try to talk about it and people are like, awkward. And I'm like, no, dude, it's my sexual trauma. It's who I am. It's fine. But like, we're here for this.
And by the way, this is a discussion panel. This is all great.
Thanks.
What you got?
And it's not just for the subs, the catharsis. It's also can be for the doms.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm an idiot. Can someone explain that word?
Catharsis is the sense of relief from being able to let go of a heavy baggage.
Okay.
It's like when you have a good cry. You know?
Yes.
Afterwards, you're like,
And then you feel better
I want
afterwards.
to cry. How do I cry? Hit me. No, we can't.
No, this is not a demo panel.
Just comes up. It's like that panda thing. Hit me.
Just give you a nice hug.
All right.
That might do it, to be honest.
So, moving now into the meat of the discussion. Headspaces, what you're all here for.
Yeah.
All right.
Space.
So, let's see. Who can tell me what a headspace is? Let's give someone else a chance.
That's why we're here, stupid.
What in the white?
It's a place to be where your head can be anything you want. Cat, dog, little, big,
empty.
anything.
Yes.
I mean, but that's kind of true.
It is. Go for it.
It's like an altered state of consciousness.
Headspace is essentially a different frame of mind that changes the way you experience the events going on around you. It changes the way you emotionally react to things. It can change the way you physically react to things. And it puts a different lens on your perception for that event. And there's a bunch of different kinds of headspaces. Whole bunch. Just shout out a few.
Little space.
Subspace.
All correct answers. But yes, it is the frame of mind that alters the way you perceive the events going on around you. The most common one you'll hear about when you're talking about kink in general is subspace. That nice floaty head feeling that the sub tends to get during scenes that allows them to relax into things and allow the dom to take control and guide them through it. It is, in all honesty, probably, my opinion at least, the best natural high a person can ever have. And it will get you high.
It can be addicting.
It very much can. Your own serotonin and dopamine, oh yeah, it can be addicting. So, some different types of headspaces, like I said, subspace. Then I know we see a few in here. Pup space. Let's get a bark from our pups. Yeah.
I love this community.
Oh no, I forgot to grab the rope toy. Oh well. I was gonna throw the rope toy out in the audience.
No, that's dangerous. I'll go for it at once.
No resource guarding.
I would need it back by the end, just saying. Then of course you've got kitten space. Got any kittens in here?
I'm just a dog.
Alright. Well, we already know of one little. Anybody else want to? Alright, got another little here. Alright. What about bigs? Alright.
There's middles too.
There is indeed.
Middle.
Alright. Do we have any ponies?
Oh, say it
For
again.
pony space.
Ponies.
Butterfly right. That's
Okay, okay. And of course there is always the dom side of things, because we get into a headspace when we do shit too. What's up?
I was raising my hand for...
Oh, alright. I thought you wanted to add something. Let's see.
That's a movie.
Space. Go, go, go.
Oh, no. Not with me here. Go towards someone.
That's later.
You stare a lot for someone who can't fight.
I can fight.
All right, girls. Save it for the mud pit afterwards.
Pudding wrestling.
That too.
I'll shave my head.
Please don't. Your hair's pretty.
I know, but I can't roll in pudding with dreadlocks.
Not with that attitude.
I mean, I can roll. I can't continue to have dreadlocks after pudding rolling.
You still could.
All right.
I want you to be my friend.
All right.
Dom space.
So for the DOMs, it can very much be the case of we very much get into our own heads when it comes to being the ones in control, and it can be a very heady experience. And it's just like subspace. It will put you in a high.
Who here has been in Dom space? That's a lot more than I thought. That's really cool, actually.
Yep. Usually it's the sea of subs.
I mean, furries.
All right. Who here knows the phrase "the sub flood is real"?
Wait, is that when they're flood in their basements, or?
No, this is where somebody says, "I'm a Dom," and suddenly they're dogpiled. Because, it is no joke to say that for every one good Dom, there are 100 subs vying for their attention.
You've alerted the horde.
What you got?
As someone in the trans community, yes. Jesus, fuck, yes.
So I'm trans myself, and that is one of the most annoying things I ever hear. Oh my god, can you fuck me with your dick? Can you fuck off?
Who was asking these questions?
All the terrible websites. Terrible websites, trans chasers. Rob, it even happens on Telegram. Furries will be like that, but that's not furries themselves. There's just bad apples.
There's just shitty people all over the place.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, we're not all furry. Thank you.
So, who wants to give a story, or rather, talk on how subspace feels for you? Who wants to share? I mean, if you want to. I want to give other people a chance, but if you want to. All right. What you got there in the back?
I usually feel really floaty, a lot of times, especially with impact play, for long periods of time, it's a very calm sense of floatiness.
What you got there in the yellow hat? You're going to have to speak up.
You want to discuss aftercare?
We're going to get to that.
Okay.
What you got, Em?
I don't really think it's quite subspace, but a few times when I've been doing the do, I usually just kind of close my eyes and just let my senses expand just a little bit extra. So I
Similar.
I can just feel the hormones flowing through me and just kind of just experience.
You can hand it back.
What you got?
So, I'm a little fur as well. I met you last night, Luna.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I commented on your dress.
Huh?
I commented on your lovely dress last night.
Bruh, I was fucking drunk. I don't remember anything.
I know. You gave me some of your loopy. It's very good.
You showed your loopy.
So, I haven't been very active in the little fur thing in a physical sense for a long while. This week was actually my first time getting padded up. And
dig the skin you're in.
Yeah. I felt very floaty, and then after a while, people who I was with, we all just kind of cuddled on the bed, and I felt very floaty. I could barely form coherent sentences. I was so deeply ingrained into that headspace. I felt a little,
Yep.
It works. It really works.
All right, what you got?
For me, I feel a overpowering sense of being loved and cared for. It is probably the biggest boost to my mental health. It's just very overpowering. I'm sitting here in this spot, people with me, having a bad time, and in my head I'm like, wow, this can never end, and I'm taking this with me. That's my subspace. Oh, this is great. I am loved. I am protected. I
I'm guessing for you specifically, you much more need a nurture dom rather than a hard dom.
Doesn't mean I don't like it.
Oh yeah, well here's the thing. Even a nurture dom can go hard.
It's how you find that sweet spot.
I'm very much a nurture dom myself, so I know exactly what she's talking about. I am right with those pronouns, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I am sorry.
I'm trans also.
Alright.
See this? You didn't see it.
I see the hat, I know you're trans, it's just I don't know which way you're going.
Ignore the titties. Ignore them. They're going to ladies here.
Alright. Congratulations on that. Apparently this is the year for quite a few people, and hell fucking yeah, be the best you.
Hey Luna, by the way, Luna, I feel that with anything with me is with the titties. Can you smother me? You're like, fuck off.
It gets so old so quick.
You know, if you want to donate them, I could use a pair. Just make sure you ship them to North Carolina, alright?
So I do want to comment on a story about being able to just switch and such. I was talking to my girlfriend the other day, and I'm just talking. She's like, "I want a penis. Why? So I can put it in a cage." She's just like, "I want to be able to pop it off and pop that in and just interchange them."
Yep.
The most wonderful thing I've ever heard my girlfriend say. Be so upset about it. I just want to put it in a cage.
So, alright, moving on to one of the other types of headspace, or one of the more specific types. So essentially we went, give me 1 minute.
Oh, I didn't know that you were going to roll through another Headspace, because I have a Headspace story.
Oh, go for it.
Oh, I mean, I wasn't stuff for the scene, but it was more primal. And it was like
Primal, yes.
It was so good. It was the first time I'm going to use the word shifted. Those of you that know. I was non-human, and it was a hot wax scene, and I never had a hot wax scene done before, and I wanted to do it. It was the first session of the day, so I get on this table face down, and they chain me to this table, not tight, but just loose, because there's a whole audio-visual element here too involved, and I'm all about that. I'm all about the theater. Even if I am the one strapped to the table face down, and I'm buck naked, and I'm a fuzzy guy. So I'm I was joking the werewolf boyfriend, and if you haven't done hot wax before, it's not something that you expect. Like you think oh, it's going to be like a hot rock treatment, or oh, I've had hot showers before. No. So the first drop of wax hits you, and it's like, oh, that's warm. And then literally 60 seconds later, it's like searing hot, but then it goes away immediately. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is great. So I'm getting hot wax drizzled on me, and they're like, okay, we're at the red candle. Are you ready? And I'm like, yeah, I handled the blue just fine. And every drip and drop, I was grunting and growling and just getting deeper into it. And then they splashed the entire red candle on my back. And somebody who was watching said I tensed up, slammed the table, and growled. It was the most primal experience I ever had. And it was so good. I was shaking afterwards.
So, for those who may not be aware, primal is, I'm not going to say it's new of a term for the kink community, but it is a type of person that has been embraced by the kink community quite heavily. Primals are the people that ascribe to a more animalistic nature of humanity, and to put it bluntly, we're beastly people. And yes, I'm one of them.
Yes.
Yeah, we're furries, duh.
And I let out the fest out all weekend. It was, people heard of the 2 over.
Yeah, and primals can almost always pick each other out of a room because there is a sense of intensity about primals.
I'll have to get with you later about the life stuff.
Yep. Ever ran across any references to the Talon clan?
No, but I'm sure we'll talk later.
So then, moving on to one of the more specific types of headspace. Does any of our pups in the room want to share what pup space does to you?
Okay.
I'm going to try to screen so you don't need to.
All right.
So basically, I guess the best way to describe pup space is kind of like the idea that you are both, at least from personal experience, it's being nurtured by someone but also returning that back. That you have someone who takes care of you, but also you are returning that back, and a lot of affection and love and stuff like that. A lot of times it can change depending too. I know there's a lot of like, I think they're called guard dogs, if I'm right, where it's more like very like protective, very like defensive about certain people, depending on their relationship with them and stuff like that. But it's always something where if you're a pup, you're trying to return that as much as possible, and you're trying to give as much love back as you can, basically.
Okay, so getting into that headspace, how does that feel for you?
I'm kind of new to it, so I guess the best way to explain it would kind of be like, it's a sense of like, not like losing control, but like kind of like passing it a little bit. Like you're not like losing yourself in the process, but more like you're handing away some of these like characteristics to someone else who's going to like make sure that that part is like basically safe while you are like in pup space, and you're going to like, you know, like being a pup and being a dog and bark and everything.
Bark and everything.
All right, I saw you had your hand up.
As a former pup handler, for me, it was more of a giving away my, I felt the need to give my loyalty, my passion towards whoever was I was going towards. That was my perspective.
Wait a minute, let's put that there. That's later, right? Hey! So, since you're already talking about this, you want to give the handler side of it too?
Certainly. As the state title holder, for me also having all the pups come to me for advice, things like that, it gives me a sense of need that I can provide to the community and give advice like a grandfather or fatherly role.
Yep.
There was one more hand.
Was there? Where were you? All right, go ahead.
For me, it's like I feel like I'm like in a more playful state. Like I'm very like eager to please, kind of like that like puppy love. Because like when I'm not in pup space specifically, I do tend to be more of a rat. Like you got to push me to. But like when I'm in pup space specifically, it's like, what do you want? Like I'll do it. What is it? Just let me know.
Yep.
I do got a story about being in pup space. So I have a dog, Zeke, at home. He's like a coon hound, so he's a big dog, and like I love wrestling with him any time of the day. Because my poor dog just takes everything. he just acknowledges my presence, and he's so annoyed. But I was actually doing like pup play space once. And this was when I was with my ex, and he was sitting on the couch with a hot cup of coffee, and I was chasing my dog while I was on all fours as well. And my dog jumped over him, and then I jumped over him, and I knocked his tea all over him. Oh, he got scolded, then I got scolded.
He got scolded, and then you got scolded.
Funniest thing to look back on now.
Yeah, when it comes to pup space, it really is that playful, eager to please, wanting the affection and to be petted on and to get into, I'm going to say, well, okay, I guess that is a way to put it, a simpler mindset where you are more focused on the interpersonal relation and how you are going to play with the person rather than, you know, getting a flogging or something like that. It is honestly one of the types of headspace that is more about how the energy is shared between the handler and the pup. And to me, that's a great thing. So, does one of our kittens in here want to share what kitten space is for them? Do you want to?
Kind of.
You don't have to.
Poor Bean.
We want to hear it. Okay, so it's like, I'm sleepy cat. I might have narcolepsy acutely, I don't know. So it's always like sleepy and biscuits and kind of like floaty and like stoner.
Cats are liquid.
Yeah, like just chilling and making biscuits, you know? They're fighters.
It's a stoner baker. Chilling and making biscuits.
Chilling and making biscuits. Thank you.
So one of the, go for it.
So I guess basically it would just be, it all sort of smooths down to, actually you just said it earlier, it's kind of not really simpler in a way, where it's just, you get to just dote on someone and exist and be languid and all over and, you know, just ever, it's cozy.
All right, what you got?
For me, it's laying there doing service without a care in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Just worry about me.
Yep. So from my personal experience, kitten play often tends to be very similar to pup play, but with the added brat spice involved. Most of the kittens I know are also brats.
I mean, that checks
Because,
out cats.
yeah, it's harder to train a cat because they're smart enough to know what they want, and it's more valuable than what you want. Let's see. You didn't have any ponies in the audience, I don't think so. But pony play is honestly, from what I've seen, I'm not super big with pony play. I've got a little bit of experience with it. But it is honestly more about the pageantry and the show off and the presentation. They are there to look good, they are there to show off, and they want the prestige of it. They want to be the object on the pedestal.
They want to be admired.
Yes. And whether that's for doing their fancy trot, for their tack, for those who don't know, that's all the gear that puts on a horse, saddle and bridle and all that good stuff, that's called tack. And it can, for them, there's also the work ponies who want to be put through their paces and work up a sweat. And depending on what kind, it's going to affect them in different ways. But like I said, I don't have a lot of personal experience with this one, so I can't say a whole lot more to it.
I know a few work ponies and work dogs.
All right. So we've had a couple people touch on Little Space. Who wants to give a more detailed bit on how Little Space feels for you?
Little Space is happy most of the time. All of the time. and I don't know.
Oh, that's okay.
It'll come back.
See, I'm
It's okay.
there trying to describe it.
It's okay.
It's okay. Words are hard sometimes.
That's such a little reaction.
And it's you get to be you all over again, and I don't know how to say it.
You did it.
Yeah.
You did it. You got
Oh.
Now, Luna has, in our conversations, given probably one of the best descriptions of it. Do you want to tell the audience sort of what you told me Little Space feels like for you?
I don't remember what I said to you.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, I didn't raise my hand before. I've got a lot of ego over myself to still do, to be honest, but I'm trans and I came out at a very young age. I think around 4 or 5. I didn't come out as trans, I didn't know what it was. I just came out as wanting to be a girl. And my parents said no. And I feel like at that point, I kind of got frozen in time a little bit in the back of my brain. You know, I kept growing up, but I guess in like neurodiversity terms, I was like developing a mask, you know, I was developing a gendered personality that didn't fit me. And I think that, you know, I am familiar with Little Space, and for me, it's like, it's an opportunity to go back and do it like the way I wanted to do the first time, you know?
To re-experience those early years and that carefreeness.
And I mean, it is just nostalgic. It gives you the good brain chemicals.
So, at a very young age, I discovered I was little. I didn't really know what it was, and I felt weird. And I'm like, this isn't normal. Normal people don't do this. I'm going to push this deep down and back inside of my brain and never think of it again. Then high school came around, and then it came back. Discovering the community and such was a huge help. But for me, the Little Space came a lot from a lot of childhood trauma. coming from a very big family and not getting love or attention that I should have had as a kid. Should have had. I had very bad parents. So it's very nurturing now to get that love and that attention, whether if it's just being taken care of for, or even like somebody just like, hey, how are you doing today? Just giving that parental love and such. So for me, it's more on the like caregiving side. There's some people who just like latex, just really like diapers and such. Everybody has their own flavor for it, but for me, it is definitely that needing love and nourishment.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
The specific way you said it before that really kind of hit home for me and is like, yeah, that's the vibe, is wanting to return to that time where you are taken care of, can feel safe, cared for, and loved.
Yes, and it's like,
I don't remember saying that, but cool.
you know, living when you grow up living a childhood that is like, you're just performing a childhood. And then you kind of want to go back and live your own childhood. So you look back and you're like, man, everyone else had a cool childhood with me.
Mine sucked. I want to redo this.
Yeah. I mean, not everyone, of course, but like, you know, a lot of you, when you grow up around your peers, they're all just normal. And then you just feel like you're just trying, you know, acting like them to fit in. And you want to go back and like be the person you wanted to be at that age, you know?
I have a hand in the back.
So kind of going off that, it's not really much to say, but it's kind of a question like, how many of us littles here are little because we feel like we were forced to grow up too fast?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like people grow up at different rates. That's a good point.
Just something I wanted to know.
Love that second childhood and cherish every moment of it.
Boss.
See, I have a different perspective. I was very sheltered as a child. I didn't even know what transgender was until I was in college. So I've been feeling drawn to the little space for a while. And I'd like to experiment. Most of my friends are little, and I've been calling myself Uncle Andy. I'm kind of like a coffee middle head. But it's very different for me. The reasons that I think I would like little life is because I feel if I can redo that part, like I didn't grow up too fast. I feel like I could do it better.
Yeah.
With myself, knowing what I know.
It's like reclaiming your childhood.
Exactly.
It's like you get to replace your old memories that you hate with like new ones that feel like they fit your childhood.
I love that way you put that, reclaiming your childhood. I love that.
Restarting with better parents.
Yeah.
Let's replay this level a little bit.
Or parents at all. Yeah.
Yep.
I hate being an adult. I'm done.
Now, what you got, Omar?
I'm just going to say, like, as someone who's not little but is a nurture dom and a caregiver type, like, there's something so healing for me in my childhood trauma, like, acting out the caregiver role for how I feel like it should be done. You know, there's something, I really like to take, like, science and behavior and, like, turn it into play. And so, like, working on emotion coaching adults as they fall into a little space is like so comforting for me. And like rewiring the brain, if you can, in those like connection moments, right? Like rebuilding parenting connection moments with littles, or even like pups, just anything really for me that helps someone else fulfill something about themselves is what puts me into like a dom space. And it can be so healing. It doesn't have, you know, like you don't have to be little to like reap the benefits and heal from helping someone else find comfort in themselves.
I have a question. What do you say emotion coaching?
Go ahead and Google it. It's a scientific process used to help raise children now, which I also have human children. And it's way harder to do with my human children, but with adults to say like, you're feeling scared right now. And like to have those conversations with adults that our parents should have had with us when we were little.
So discussing emotions, gross.
Yeah, I
being
know.
able to identify what you're feeling and be able to accurately process those emotions is a skill that has started to somehow get lost in development, and it is a scary thing.
Yeah, so redoing some of that, you know, like I think of it as moments of connection where we connect over emotions, and then moments of exploration and scaffolding where like I, as your caregiver, as your parent, encourage your exploration and your scaffolding and support you and then you can come back to me as like a secure base for emotion coaching and growth. And it's it starts a lot of times as a kink or as play, but it turns into something really cathartic and healing. And I think that can be reached through so many different types of play with the right dom. But you can Google emotion coaching. Like there's handouts, there's things on reparenting yourself, or like healing your trauma through understanding like your emotions and your body.
And as a good segue there, into the big side of things, the ones who take care of the littles. That is something I do have some experience with. Well, for me, that is very much, like you were saying, that is the giving the nurture and the care and providing the comfort and the safety. And that, the headspace for that is so soft. It is gentle and, yeah.
I have butterflies. I like tremble thinking about it.
And it puts you in a mindset of, this person is important and I have to make sure that they're taken care of. What you got, Lito?
For me, it's more of making sure, it feels it's more of a sense of purpose to make sure that, for like even my husband, that he's secure and it's giving me that sense of I'm taking care of him. It's all me.
When it comes to bigs and littles, it really is a very emotional headspace. All right, let's see. Do I have any other ones that I specifically want to touch on? All right, so I think that was all the specific ones I wanted to touch on for what they would feel like. So, how Headspace in general affects someone. Like at the earlier part, I mentioned that Headspaces change the lens, the filter for how you're experiencing an event. That is an important thing to keep in mind. When you are spaced, whether it's just general subspace or one of the more specific types of spacing, you are not processing things the same way you would outside of the scene. That lens is in place, and as long as you're in that headspace, you're not going to be able to process things as you would outside of it. Which means that when it comes to negotiations and things, once somebody is spaced, is that the time to negotiate anything?
No.
Nope, they are compromised. Negotiations must happen before, because once spaced, you might find yourself agreeing to things that you would not have otherwise. Yep. What you got?
What I might end up asking for in a scene is not necessarily what I normally want. Boundaries beforehand are what you go by.
And that is also one of those things where if you are very experienced with your play partner, you might understand, hey, if they ask for this during a scene, it's okay to include it. And you might understand, it's okay to push this a little bit further. But if you're not super familiar with the person you're playing with, once they are in a headspace, what was agreed to before is where it needs to stay. What you got?
I was late getting here. Is this
welcome anyway?
Headspaces of all spectrums, or is
yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, thank you.
From your outfit, I'm guessing little spaces of particular interest to you.
What? No way.
I'm sorry, it's one of those things where the overalls, it's one of the universal giveaways.
Beans. I have a closet full of them.
It's one of those things. Tell me you're a little without telling me you're a little. Open wardrobe, overalls.
Certain hats are a good identifier.
Yep.
Just to touch on like the big headspace or like the daddy headspace, it doesn't always have to be sexual. It's like I do I do the dishes, I clean up the house.
Yes.
Like yeah, we do that.
I pay the bills.
Yeah, and a lot of these headspaces for people are not a sexual thing. In fact, there's a good number of people that I know that if things turn sexual, it will pull them out of their headspace harsh and it will be a bad experience for them.
One thing I think that does get looked over a lot with like littles and bigs, there is also like middles. You know, there are some people who want to be like treated like babies or like very young toddlers, but there's also people who just want to be like treated like just like a kid. And like sometimes they just need that attention or that direction. Just having a caregiver be like, hey, did you brush your teeth this morning? And just need that affection. Just and such. Just because like somebody's a middle or something doesn't mean they want to wear diapers or anything or be treated like a baby. Some people just want to have that nurturing love and care from an adult, but it's just more like a childhood standpoint.
My ex actually was a middle. Their little self was in the age range of 12 to 14.
Middle.
Yep.
Being a preteen is hard, and it's okay to have to relive that.
Yes, it is. That is where you are really finding yourself in that age, and sometimes you need that rediscovery.
Yeah.
As many times you need, do it again.
Do it again. Yeah. You can always change it.
Rinse and repeat.
Rinse and repeat.
So then, again, with the different lens in place, you experience things differently. And one of the big things you'll find is your interpretation of things will shift. Things that wouldn't have bothered you outside of a headspace, now are like, oh, well, that's scary now. Or things that would otherwise have been less interesting, you're all of a sudden, oh, I want to play with that now. And it really can change the way you look at things in general. Anybody have a particular experience that stands out to them where that had been the case? All right, what you got, Jade?
This is more of one of my partner's experience. They more or less recently started dabbling into little and finding themselves that way. We were talking on VR chat. We were at One World. It was just public, random people popping in and out. We're talking, and they're having their moment. They're all cuddly and small and everything. And one guy had left prior who was like this big, hulking, like Space Marine, full Ultramarine for the Emperor. Comes trotting by. 5 minutes later, he comes back. Same avatar, hasn't changed, just comes trotting by. First, she's drooling all over him, like, oh, this is so cool, this is awesome. Next thing, she's, please get the hell away from me. I don't want anything to do with you.
Because the headspace had shifted. And it changed the way they were perceiving it. Let's see.
Aftercare.
We'll get there.
Just hang on.
Towards the end. Just be during care.
Just during care. Just care.
Just care.
Always care.
Just fucking care.
Just be a good bean. Don't be a dickhead.
Fair.
Holy shit.
Don't be a dickhead.
Also, during that, you'll find that if someone is spaced around you, the way they respond to you might be different than the normal. And it's important to understand that as well. When someone's spaced, and you approach them with something that would have been totally normal, they might react very different. And it might be a shock to you, but you need to understand, if they're spaced, once again, that lens of interpretation has shifted, and if you can account for that, you can still have that good interaction, but just be aware that people might not respond the way you expect once they're spaced. All right.
Aftercare. No.
Wait for it.
So, one of the things that I often get asked is how to get people into the headspace you want them to be experiencing for those scenes. There's 1.5 million different ways, and it really depends on what is going to work for you and your play partners. For some people, it can be a tone. Like, hang on, there you are. Hey, Delta, can you come here for a second?
Careful of the cords.
Yep. So who's a good boy? Hey, who's a good puppy? Who's a good puppy? Who's a good puppy?
I don't need to be flooding my basement on stage, please.
Can you see? The tone and giving the head scratches. Sometimes that's all it takes to put somebody into a headspace. That is sometimes really all it takes.
Y'all getting jealous yet?
Thank you, Delta.
I wish I could have thrown a bone right there.
Yeah. And for a little, sometimes it just takes the right tone and, hey, how you doing? You good? And you're speaking that parental, nurturing way and giving that kind of attention. Sometimes that's all it takes is the right tone of voice and the right way of interacting. And that really is all it takes. Sometimes it's certain touches, like a rope buddy getting into their space. The feel of a rope, even just in their hand, can start to melt them. Or the rasp of leather.
Where my barbecue people at?
Rope bunny has its own space too. Very much so. And sometimes it can be a matter of touch or particular word choices. The language used a lot of times has a big impact on the headspace you're trying to achieve.
Oh, there was a bone. Oh, I could have thrown that.
Well, it's kind of tied in my belt loops at the moment.
Regardless. Yeet. Just throw you with it.
No.
Also, certain environments can also trigger headspaces. And we all know this because how many of you entered an altered headspace as soon as you hit that front door? The furry headspace going into a con is definitely a headspace.
You know what's weird? I'm an introvert. Not at a furry con.
Yep, your lens has changed at the con.
I mean, just the people around you, though, can change that. Being around an opening and accepting environment, you're like more at ease. And it's going to be okay. And not okay, there's some bad apples, but not everybody's going to be a dickhead just for you to express who you are.
Right.
For impact play sessions, there's a difference between having an audience versus having a private session.
Yep, very much so.
I really like to have the oohs and the ahs from the things that are happening, and it drives that space home while they're
I have a story.
Whereas some that are more nervous about doing things with the spectacle have an easier time getting to a headspace when it's more private and there's loved ones nearby.
Very much so, yes.
I have a story about the audience thing. This is me just being a shithead, because I am a shithead. Anytime I could. I know. So at the swingers club that was in Fort Wayne, Indiana, there was Red Room, and a lot of those people were just like middle-aged people who are just like, oh, I just want to have sex, and like, oh, that's crazy, that's so kinky. Okay. So they did have a Red Room, and I had a partner who took me back there and strapped me down, and all these people like seeing this pop head. Ooh, what's this? This is so interesting. What? Get back there. He starts spanking me a little bit, and then he has the audacity to come up as these people are sitting down watching, and grabs the back of the hood, raises it, and he says, "Who's a good girl?" And just loud enough so everybody can hear, "You are." They all laughed, and then I got hit. Violently.
So, a good example of brat space. Just
That's just existence.
That's just you.
That's just a way of life.
So, like, kind of having different, like, people react to different environments, but, like, reacting to each other at the same time.
The people are part of the environment.
Yeah. So for me, touch is like huge, and like there's kind of like a certain way that my partner like scratches behind my ear. That's just like I'm in tough space automatically, and she's done it accidentally, and she doesn't want that in public. So she's just without thinking, will just like reach up behind my ear and give, and I'm just like. And she's like, oh wait, no, stop.
Undo. Not now.
Yeah, she's not in Ambler space at all. She was not intentional.
Don't do that in front of your parents.
I got a really brief, funny story about that. So when I was sort of like discovering all this, I was going to a tech school and stuff, and I had roommates. And they don't know a damn thing about me. They were just like, just bros being bros. Like, they're kind of like a giant crowd actually. So I was like in stealth mode the whole fucking time I'm here, right? And I had a roommate that, like, for whatever fucking reason, would occasionally, like, brushes his hand on my head. And, like, I was, like, starting to keep track, because, like, but when that happens, I was, like, would start to drop, and I'd be like, nope, not here.
Yep.
But then afterwards, I'm like, damn, I kind of wish he kept going.
Yeah.
Here.
Actually, I wanted to ask a question about that. Is it common for people to have like different like how long it takes to get into Headspace? Because like me personally, when that stuff happens, it takes probably like 15 to 20 minutes for you to actually get into that space.
Yes, that's entirely normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can have moments where it's just like, okay, ready, and then there can be other moments where like, slowly, please. I mean, but that's something that needs to be like, not discussed, but even just observed.
There is no wrong or right amount of time to get into Headspace. It can be immediate. There's some people that it'll take them an hour or more.
I was going to say, my partner, and I live in a little space. I am small. And my partner is as well, but for him, it's like an occasional thing. Like, he's more of a big, I suppose, but for him, it is really hard to get into a little space. But when he can, it's nice for him to enjoy it. So, it's like you said, it's not anything. It's all in someone's own time.
Is there anything you can say that helps with that transition, since it is harder for them?
Definitely a nurturing and like comfortable environment. What's that?
Do they color?
I love to color. They're a little harder to stimulate as a little. They like to be very active. So, yes. For him, like going out, like to the zoo, museums, movies, like anything like that will like immediately put him in a little space.
Yep, the outings, going on an adventure. Yep.
You are an adventurer.
I know, that's one of my friends.
What you got?
If that's what that is.
My partner, I've been with him for almost 5 years now. He is the most highly wound motherfucker I've ever met, which means it can take easily an hour to get him into appropriate substrate. But the easiest way is, I think, just persistence and consistency and keeping an eye on it, because for people who are a little more tightly wound and it takes a little more time, you just have to really pay attention and work it out. But yeah, I've never turned down a challenge still.
Also, the brain loves patterns. If you notice a pattern that helps get you into a headspace, remember it. Because the more you do it, you'll find the faster it works.
Same thing of going out of Headspace too.
Yep, and that is what I was going to hit next. Well, not next. There's one more point, then I'm going to get to that.
Aftercare.
Stop, that's coming!
It's fine, we don't even need it.
One moment. Say
Can you
again?
guys touch on hypnosis patterns at all?
No. That's a particular button for me, because the way hypnosis is presented in Kink is done so bass-ackwards and so shitty.
I think a lot of people like fetishize the idea.
They fetishize the idea of hypnosis, and they want to act hypnotized when they're not.
Well, I mean, is that not just another Headspace?
Not in the same way.
Okay.
You see, hypnotism...
I don't have experience with
Yeah.
it, so I'm sure you know.
You see, hypnotism is more of a way of intentionally and, I'm not going to say forcibly, but putting someone into a headspace... how do I put this?
I feel like
words are hard.
Hypnosis is for people who want to get into it. Like, people who are into hypnosis are they want
The people who want to get pushed into a headspace.
Yeah, but they're too scared to take the plunge, you know?
I mean, I would say there's...
As someone who actually, does hypnosis, both ways, hypnosis it's very much a key and lock sort of thing. I have to know what I'm doing, but the other person has to be receptive. And it's something where I sort of guide them into into a space. And it's not something that's just like well, for some people it's very quick, some people it's very slow, and ultimately it's something that you have to agree to. It's not the fancy thing of, I'm going to make you do this. There is an inherent element of consent to it. I can't hypnotize someone who doesn't want it, and it's just about a guidance thing.
Yep, and there's no amount of flashing gifts or swirly patterns that will ever hypnotize you.
What? Disappointed noise.
Yeah, I would say to be very clear about hypnosis, like what hypnosis is a guided meditation, and you like breathe and put yourself in that mindset, and it's a choice that you make if you're gonna like follow the guided meditation and put yourself into that space, or if you're not going to. It's not magic. It's not hypnosis. It's a guided meditation. Like, let's just be clear.
Suggestion.
It's
Literally the stuff that I really I got into it because I have a lot of anxiety around playing stuff like things like that. So part of the stuff that I was really interested in that was like, okay, it literally I ended up figuring out a few weeks later was like, oh, this is literally the stuff that my therapist is talking about too, which is like anxiety stuff where you're in a river and you feel like everything is in at once. You can just let your thoughts relax. You don't have to catch on to every anxiety thought. You can just have the streams of consciousness and be fine. But it was like that, just in a Kink setting. It was like, okay, I'm now calm and feeling collected in a thing.
Exactly.
And that was kind of like, that's kind of my
I think, at least at me as a Dom, what I see floating around a lot is a lot of Doms using it as like buzzwords for like, and it's I feel like hypnosis I often see paired with like, just
mind
like
control.
Red flags, like red and orange flags, and I just want to be clear that like, you don't need a Dom to go there. You can find great guided Kink meditations on the internet.
Other headspaces. It kind of helps out in that way because, it's visibly, you're kind of like your imagination, more steps and stuff. And I guess that's a good way to put it. It's ultimately just a medium for things, but ultimately in itself, it's basically just focusing on just chilling out.
From my experiences too, there's more audio files, not necessarily another person putting me there. And what it does is it gives you a consistent sensory audio sound that kind of numbs the outside world from you. You close your eyes, concentrate on your breathing, and then the suggestions that you desire from what you're listening to are suggested to you, and it gives you those feelings. So I would say it's a good space in itself.
My girlfriend uses hypnosis almost every night to go to sleep. Because when she lays down, she won't stop thinking. It's like she doesn't think all day, and all of a sudden she gets to bed, everything.
The racing mind.
So like for her, like it's a bit weird too, because all of a sudden it'll stop and hello, I'm still awake, and there's somebody in my room. Another like website that I used to use a bit. There's a free thing called hypno.ninja, like ninja but with an M, like ninja.com. And that, like, it has just normal stuff, but all to, like, your extreme kink stuff as well on there. And such. It's, like, you don't need somebody else to do that. And, like, this is completely free. And you can just sit there and listen and dig the skin you're in, just enjoying this scenario. Whether it be for healing purposes or kink purposes.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things where the fetishized idea of hypnosis is so far removed from what hypnosis actually is. I tend to not call good hypnosis done for kink hypnosis, because as soon as you say hypnosis, people think swirly patterns and flashy gifts and stuff, and no.
There's also a lot of hypnosis kink content out there, as far as I'm aware, that's very non-consensual. Like,
yes.
I mean, the whole idea of it is
it's a red flag.
Yeah, I'm going to hypnotize you to do what I want. Like, that's pretty
red flags.
Now,
on that same topic,
especially when like the content is like flat, you're like, hey, this is the kind of stuff you're going to be listening to. These are the subjects we're going to be listening to. People are like, hey, just putting this thing out here, it's got to fucking deal with whatever content is so listen to. It's like,
something from outside observers that witness a trusted couple or situation
pick up on some of these cues, and then they try to assert themselves in that situation, which is a big no-no. Often, is it very damaging and pulls somebody right out of their space too. And I've been somebody that experienced that and a witness to it.
Yeah, that's something I was going to get. That was actually going to hit next is how to maintain a headspace and avoid those harsh pullouts. So things when you're in a headspace, it can be extremely jarring to be suddenly pulled out of it. Like to the point where I have seen people have full-blown emotional breakdowns from being pulled out of a headspace improperly.
Has that happened to anybody?
I have daddy issues, but I'm also a babe. So if somebody calls me daddy, I will freak the fuck out. Like it is, I'm making a pass. That's happened to me before, and it was very. It took me 2 days to recover from that, and it was not good. It ruined my experience.
I've had a similar issue myself. Like I said earlier, I am a little. I'm not a big, and I've had people try to force me into the role of being big, and I felt obligated, to, and it's just like you said, just actually ruined.
Yeah, maintaining that headspace for the duration of how long you're intending to have someone spaced or be spaced yourself is very important. Because, like I said, pulling somebody out of a headspace wrong can be very jarring. And the way you want to maintain a headspace is to continue giving those the same sort of stuff that would put someone into the headspace, just the constant little reapplication of those same things throughout the scene.
A fade.
Yes. You want to kind of keep it moving and keep it going. And you want to minimize outside stuff coming into your scene that could jar you or your play partner out of their headspace. So that means, phones on silent. Tell people that are around, yes, there's a scene going on, please stand back.
Say you are with a partner and you or your partner are coming out of headspace unwillingly, you want to stay in the headspace. How would you reinforce getting back into the proper space that they're in?
Same way you get into space the first time. You would essentially go back through the steps of entering the space. You might want to apply it a little bit more intensely in some cases, with a little bit more focus to it, because you want to stop them from fully surfacing from it. But yeah, it's just the same way you would get them into the headspace is the same way you would work to keep them in there if something jarring has happened.
I think it'd be safe to say as well, depending on the scenario or what pulled them out, it might be the idea to start aftercare as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If someone has their space jarringly broken, they're going to need aftercare immediately because they're going to need the help getting back to their normal state of mind.
Mine was I was crying, I was sobbing mess. It was not a good time, and I did not receive that, and it still is a very bad, haunting memory. I didn't know, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just not great, so it's good to know tips and tricks for that sort of thing. And if I'm in a headspace and I realize that I'm having issues and my hands or whatever is not handling the situation, how would I am able and cognizant to recognize that, be able to help myself?
There is never a problem with asking your dom, your top, whoever you're with. There is never a problem asking, hey, I need a little bit more of this right now. Communication is key. Let them know what you need.
All right, that's all, yeah.
So one thing I struggle with a lot when I'm getting into pub space is I worry a lot about like my phone going around, people text me and stuff like that. What are some ways that I can focus more on getting into this space and just kind of like, it's more of like the anxiety of like, what if someone texts me, what if something happens, something like that. How can I get that out of my mind while going into it?
If you know that there is somebody who is likely to be contacting you, let them know, hey, I'm going to be busy for the next little while. Then put your phone on airplane mode. Then you're not going to get anything. What you got, Leo?
To add that for us, people that have the person that can reinforce the pub space for you, just so that way you're just focusing on them instead of being distracted by the outside influences. It's almost like having a watcher in the room for you during the placing.
Yeah. Having a pit crew is a good idea. Somebody who's on the sidelines that can manage your phone or, handle passing off toys to the top or dom. It's a good thing to have. Having an assistant is always good.
Oh, I was just going to say, as you suggested, if you know somebody's going to call you or you think that that's possible, planning ahead, if you know that that's something that you're going to want or, you have time for it, plan ahead, make sure that everybody knows, you're busy. You don't have to tell them what you're doing, but, you're busy, your phone's going to be off for however long, and people tend to understand that.
And also, if there is something important that you need to be watching for, it's probably not the time for a scene.
Yeah. The whole culture of everyone being constantly on and connected and available is just really, really stressful and hard to deal with. And it's not even just a pub thing. It's like being able to disconnect from your phone and be away from it for 2 hours and just let your head be clear. That's as much a pub thing as it is a life thing.
Yep. And, that is actually one of the things, this is off topic, but I absolutely fucking hate telegrams, read, or sent in red notifications. I'm sorry, just because I read your message does not mean I am obligated to respond to you. Fuck off. And honestly, that even goes back before Telegram.
I was going to say, that goes for anything.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes, you have my phone number. That does not mean I am obligated to talk to you or answer your call. If I have the time, I will. Sure, I love talking to people. But, once again, just because you have that number does not mean you are obligated to my time or attention. A little bit of a tangent there, sorry.
What's up, Amelia?
All right, now on the flip side of that, intentionally pulling someone out of a headspace if something needs to happen or your scene is done. Like I said, you want to avoid pulling them out jarringly. You want to ease them back out of the headspace just as you eased them into it. A good way to do it, change the language you're using. If you're dealing with a pup, instead of calling them pup, start using their name again and talking to them like a normal person, little bits at a time, so that their brain kicks in and goes, oh, okay, I'm winding down from this. A good way of doing it is transitioning the type of activity and the type of contact you're having. Like, if it's a impact scene, instead of, the impacts, now start rubbing and giving softer attention. Those little things trigger, something's changing, something's different, and their brain starts to kick back in and go, I need to pay attention now. And you want to let them come out of it as slowly as they are comfortable doing it. It might take 10 minutes, it might take a half hour. While they're coming out is a great time to start aftercare. I know, I'm finally getting there, right?
You do care.
Yep. But yeah, coming out of the headspace is a great time to start aftercare. One of the things I will love to do, and a couple people in here already are very aware of it, is when things start winding down, treating it almost like a part of the scene. I've got these lovely soft fleece blankets, and I will drape them over the person and start rubbing on them and petting them and just giving softer attention. And a lot of times that triggers the, relax and just exist for a little while and come down from things. And that's the great time to start aftercare. And for those who are unaware, aftercare is one of these other critically important parts of a scene. It is just as much important as the negotiation and how you start a scene, because scenes, like we've been talking about, they affect the way you think. And for people who are very into the harsher side of things, you need that reassurance that the harsh is not the normal, that the harsh is not the everyday, and that you're not actually bad or deserving of being treated in those harsh ways. Because You're not. You're a human being. You need to be treated nicely, just like everyone else. So you need that aftercare and that reassurance that it is the scene, and that the things that happen in the scene are the scene and not part of the person interacting with you.
You might not think you need it, but when you've been called, like, if you're into, like, degrading and such, and having somebody say all these really mean and terrible things, you might not think you need it because you like that, but having that reassurance coming out of something that, hey, you're not a bad person. Thank you for letting me do this. And, like, that reassurance of love is super important to your mentality, and so until you just leave a room and be like, that was terrible, too. That was nice.
You don't know what your body internalizes.
And there's the common thing that repetition ingrains things. If you hear it enough, whether it's from somebody else or from yourself, you will start to believe it. No matter how small it is, no matter how playful it was intended to be, you will start to believe the things that you hear repeatedly.
You have two hands over here.
What if you're not used to aftercare almost whatsoever? Like used to that soft aftercare. All the,
Okay.
you know, all the parts of it. If you have a hard time accepting, like how do you like ease yourself into it?
Okay, so aftercare is very much dependent on the person receiving it. You need to know what kind of aftercare to give someone. And sometimes you can get that from just kind of the vibe you get from a person. Other times, like if you're saying that you have a hard time with accepting it, that's something to let the person you're with know, so that they can account for that and that they can make preparations to say, okay, what do you need? How can I help you come down for this? And sometimes, like, there's another story I want to tell. Sometimes all you need for aftercare is a bottle of water, a little something to eat, and maybe a soft blanket to nestle into for a little while. Aftercare is different for everybody, but there's a few common things that are almost universal. Water, a little something to nibble on, and something snuggly. Chocolate is very good.
Dark chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I guess I have an interesting story about this, I guess, as like needing some, I guess, forewarning for the dog. So this was, so I planned out this intense session with this person, and we set everything up. It was pretty intense, pretty hypnotism, and I was talking about what kind of aftercare I was expecting to give them. I was like, cuddle them, like give them water and stuff, and they were totally cool with that. It gets to the end of the session, they're done, and they say, don't touch me for the rest of the night. And this freaked me the fuck out so bad that I felt like shit afterwards. Felt like shit for like the entire week. I had no idea this was going to happen. They did not tell me this was a possibility. And so like, yeah, like please let the dom know what you want for aftercare, especially if it's going to be something like that.
Yeah, and you said that you had talked to them a little bit about it, but then at the end of the scene it all changed. That's a pretty big red flag.
Well, no, they needed something different for aftercare.
Okay.
They didn't. Yeah, apparently this was something that happens before that, but if I could know beforehand that they wouldn't want to be touched for the rest of the night, it would have felt a lot better.
Yeah, I see you have a hand up, but I do want to mention something as well. It is wonderful for a dom to give that aftercare, but doms need aftercare too. Especially for a very harsh play session. Like, not all doms want to hurt you. Not all doms want to like say mean things or hit you or anything, and that some of them really need that like hug and thank you, I love you, and I appreciate you. This was exactly what I needed, because not all of them want to be an asshole. So it is very important to make sure, as well as a good sub, a good bottom, to reassure the dom that you are grateful and thankful, and they are okay as well.
Okay, so there were some hands up over here that have been waiting a bit.
Let them go first, yeah.
What I wanted to say was like perfectly in line with that, and kind of to like reiterate what Lynn was talking about, like just switching the type of what you're saying, because like my partner and my romantic partner and I kind of occupy a lot of different spaces depending on what we want, and so when I'm in down space and she's sub, like she really enjoys the like degrading. Like, yeah, talk dirty to me, but times stuff under it too. And like that's just not who I am in my day to day. So like for me as a dom, like aftercare because like it's just so important for me to like reiterate like I want you to know how I see you as a person and like in our normal day to day, and I don't get that. Like it messes with my head, and it's just like even Dom's need like you said, Dom's need aftercare too, and it goes both ways.
So in particular for me, if I'm doing something with someone and they've been getting some harsher treatment from me, I need that verbal thing of them saying, hey, I'm okay, I enjoyed this. I need to know that I didn't hurt them or that they were actually enjoying what was being done to them. I need that reassurance that they're safe and they're good so that I can come down from mine.
It also helps them, like, it's like communication in any relationship. If they don't know what's wrong, they can't make it better or fix it next time.
All right. Sorry to keep you waiting. What did you have?
Damon?
It's gone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What a bad brain. 2 seconds is gone.
I say the blonde hair is deep.
All right. But yeah, when you're coming out of a headspace, you really do need that aftercare because
Somebody has a question or a hand raised? Oh, hi.
So I wanted to ask, something that I've been kind of experimenting with recently is going into Headspace when I'm by myself as more of like it's like a calming sensation, I guess. One of the questions I have is like, what's a good way to keep track of yourself so that you're not spending too much time in Headspace, and how to make sure you're caring for yourself when you don't have someone around to guide you?
So that kind of goes back to one of the other things that I should have mentioned during the safety, and thank you for reminding me for it. There is another thing in the kink community that gets said a lot. Never kink alone, particularly if it's something that can put you in a vulnerable state. Yeah, there's plenty of things you can engage in by yourself, but there's a lot that you really do need to be with someone, and if you're entering an altered mental state, you either need to be extremely comfortable and aware of your surroundings and know how you're going to respond to stuff. Especially, as you said, you're new to things. You should be very careful with that. But just some general tips for you, though. Make sure that your environment is safe. Make sure that there's nothing that can harm you that in an altered state you wouldn't be as cognizant of. Like glassware on a counter. If it gets knocked off and broken and you're spaced, you might not notice if you step in it or roll over into it. You might get yourself hurt. So yeah, be very, very careful with those kinds of things. What you got, Lito?
Having somebody check up on you, somebody that you trust completely with that. Just okay, I'm going to be in this headspace for, I want to be in it for maybe an hour, 30 minutes, what have you. They can check up on your method calling you, just physically coming to your, where you are. Or if there's also like iPhone watches, just having them just zap it to you, message you some way, alert you.
But yeah, like I said, when it comes to coming out of a headspace, you are coming out of an altered mental state. Same way someone coming down from a high. And you are going to need to do that safely. Slowly. Like I said earlier, you don't want to have a jarring come out from a headspace. And that is incredibly important because it will help with what's going to come next. Drop. Anytime you have play that results in a headspace, you are setting yourself up for drop. Drop is a term that is commonly used among the kink community for that feeling of almost depression or mental instability or emotional instability that comes after a scene when the wind down has happened, you've had that moment to breathe, and all of a sudden you just go to fucking pieces.
Who has experienced sub drop or dom drop?
Say again? Say that again? Yes. PCD is drop. No two ways about it. But coming out of your headspace more gradually, more gently, and getting good aftercare can forestall and lessen the effects of drop dramatically. But yeah, drop will hit you like a fucking truck.
Having
somebody checked in on you a day or a couple days after. There's a couple different rules of thumb for that, but one of them I think is a little excessive. But
Yeah, I always touch base with people the day after a play session.
at least the day after, maybe even a few days after that.
But then again, I love staying in contact with the people I play with. Because kink is a connection. And
It's a family.
but yeah, the connection you get with the people you play with.
I'll consider it a coven, not a family.
Well, I'd like to consider you fucking family.
Rock. If we were any more inbred, we'd be a sandwich. Jesus Christ.
That's his relative.
Just go back to sleep.
My little huge.
Oh, sorry. We'll let the children in here.
But yeah, drop like.
Ah, beans. You're right.
Yeah.
Kink shaming is my kink. No, I would not. No.
But yeah, the aftercare and the coming out slowly will help you with drop. And if you're having a hard time with drop and you know that what you're feeling doesn't feel right to you, reach out to people. Let them know, hey, I'm not okay right now. I need some help. Get the comfort, support, and care you need. It is incredibly important.
Deserve.
Yes, you deserve the comfort, care, and support. Alright, we've got about 10 minutes left on the official panel time, but I don't think the room is in use until like 4 or so. So I don't know that we need to rush out, but I'm still going to try to... That way, I'm still going to try to wrap up so that in case we do need to vacate the space, we can. But some things to keep in mind for aftercare. I have an aftercare kit. It's the blankets, usually water bottles, a little something to nibble on. A B vitamin complex is actually really good as well because the B vitamin is good for mental health. And that can help soften the impact of the drop as well. Chocolate. The dopamine hit from chocolate, again, helps with that dramatically. Does anybody else want to share some important things that they need with aftercare?
I do want to ask, did anybody feel like they've learned or gained something from today?
Hell yeah.
Yay.
Thank you. Seeing that matters the world to me.
Don't stroke your ego too hard.
Oh, I'm already having an egasm. What you got, Linda?
Just for those that can't have like the sugar sweet chocolates, using the alternatives of whatever your preferred sweet is.
Fruit, maybe a little bit of a baked goods, something that you enjoy that is a comfort food.
Yeah.
I would say, and like this is my advice, it's not a hard rule, but when coming down from a scene and getting into the aftercare, I would avoid any other kind of intoxicants. I would avoid alcohol or any kind of drug.
Well, shit.
Yes. When I do impact scenarios, I don't like it if anybody that wants to volunteer when I'm doing a demo to be intoxicated, because they don't know their own sensory perceptions when they're being physically impacted.
And that goes back to what I said earlier. In a general rule is don't play intoxicated unless you're extremely familiar with your partner.
Yep.
All right, I see you had your hand up.
I was going to say, for aftercare, I kind of, because the whole pop thing is very playful and nice and stuff like that, I'm still trying to figure it out, but I think it's the idea of I need like a firm kind of language, but not aggressive. Like, not like, hey, we're done, but like, hey, it's time to get out of it, we're working towards, we're trying to get back to normal here. Like,
You can be firm, but still be kind.
Yes,
yeah, exactly.
very much so.
Something else, because like I know people were talking about like gradually going out, like even just saying like, hey, Dad, you went out and like watch a YouTube video in like 10 minutes, or like give somebody like the time
when you have a little kid that just doesn't want to use playtime, it's like, okay, well, we gotta go get lunch in 10 minutes, so at least they can prepare for that moment. It's kind of doing that same thing for yourself.
And this is actually a great time for that story I mentioned I wanted to tell. So one of the events I went to at La Fortress, one of the other venues that's in North Carolina, I had the lovely pleasure of watching a rope scene between these two amazing ladies. They were both older ladies. I would say the one was probably in her 60s, the other one was mid-50s.
Just calm down.
Jesus. And the one was being an absolute wallflower. Sitting on the sideline, watching everybody else, hands in her lap. You could tell she wanted to be there. You could tell she was very engaged in what was going on around her, but couldn't interact. And this other lady walks up to her and says, "Hey, would you like to do some rope work with me?" And it took her a second, but she agreed to it and got up, and they started doing some body ties. And you could watch this woman's face go from that kind of nervous, shy, to enjoying herself. And as the layers of rope work went on, and I mean layers, this one was getting mummified in rope.
Yeah.
As the layers went on, she started to cry. And it started just a little tear here and there, and then started actively crying. And then sobbing. And the one topping her for the scene, the one in control there, noticed, "Hey, are you okay? Do I need to stop? Are you all right? No, please don't stop. Please don't stop. Please keep going." So they continued the scene as she's standing there, sobbing as she's getting tied up. And about the time the rope work gets done, she's kind of cried herself out. She's still... But she's stopped actively crying. And then the ropes start to come off. And she's relaxing back again. And when they're done, the rope gets put away. Blanket around her, she pulls her off, the other one pulls off to the side. And they sit down over in the corner, just the two of them. And they're talking. And it was a really beautiful scene to watch. So I kind of wander over, and I just crouched down next to them, waiting for them to acknowledge my presence, and if they never did, I would have gotten up and walked the fuck away. But eventually, like, "Hey, how are you?" And I'm like, "All right, hey, I watched your scene. That was really beautiful." And we started talking. What had made her start to cry? That was her first kink outing since losing her late husband. And rope work had always been their thing. It had been over 5 years for her, and that was her first outing again. And just getting to feel the rope again hit her so hard. And it was the emotional hit that she really, really needed. And like, just watching it was an emotional thing for me. So I'm up here like tearing up because it was just such a beautiful thing to watch. And this is the story I love to tell, to show people that kink can be a tender and caring and deeply emotional thing. It's not about pain. It's not about masochism. It's not about sadism. It's about the connection you have with the people you play with. And I will never forget those two ladies for the rest of my life. All right, we've got just a few more minutes. Like I said, I don't think there's any rush to get out of here. Does anybody have general questions? What you got?
Something that I wanted to say earlier, but we kind of moved on. I was waiting to see if things circled back around, but it didn't. So now that it's over,
go for it.
Something that no sub should ever get themselves in the habit of saying, and something that should be a red flag for every dom, is the idea of "I'm no limits." You know, I don't use safe words. No.
As soon as someone says, "I have no limits," that is a red flag. They either do not know their limits or think they have no limits, and they will get themselves hurt.
And I straight up told people, like, no, like, and we've gone through and like discussed things, but the moment I know that's their mindset, I say, I do not feel confident that if we did a scene and you needed a safe word that you would use it, and because of that, I'm not scening with you. You're just not a safe person.
So this was an online interaction I had on Second Life, and there was a guy approached me with the whole no limits thing.
Yeah, go for it. It's been 2 hours. I have to piss.
Oh. And this was an SL thing.
Could have heard ask permission, though.
No.
Hey, she's not my sub. We don't have that kind of relationship. I would not mind. We have not negotiated that. But this guy approaches me and pulls the whole I have no limits thing. So I turn around and goes, oh, great. So you'd be totally up for being strapped to a St. Andrew's cross, getting castrated, and me turning your scrotum into a coin purse? What the fuck? No. You have limits, asshole.
People say, so I know I don't like seeing it, but I'm very new to the inner workings of the Kink community. It's only been since about this past MCFC last year that I started getting into it. Can I just
Welcome to the community. What? Welcome to the community.
Anyway, can I just say that not knowing your limits and not having the experience, like I had partners last night and I was very open and I was like, okay, I'm very new to this. I know I have limits. Here's the ones I know of, but I'm also very new to this. Communication, like everybody says, is key. Let them know if you don't know what your limits are so they can keep a better eye on it.
What you got, Leto?
I would also use, if they say they don't have any limits, if they are not experienced, it would be a learning curve for them. So to tell them about limits, tell them, use it as a learning.
It's not always a red flag.
Yeah. It's more that if someone actively says they have no limits, that's the red flag. But someone not knowing their limits, like one of the things I have told many people is, all right, you don't know where your limit's at? All right, here, we'll walk you into this. If anything at any point starts to feel not right, red me. By the way, safe wording or giving a red call does not make you less of a sub. Also, DOMs have limits too. And saying no to doing something to a sub does not make you less dominant. Say what? Yes.
I had a super bad experience about 5 years ago that put me off of doming for 3 years, where I had to speak with somebody and everything was finished up right, aftercare played well, everything was good. 2 weeks later, they cut off all contact with me, citing that session as the reason why. That's the only thing they ever told me. And I was like, I need communication. What did I do wrong? Like, is it me? How can I be better? Like, you know what I mean?
And that's likely someone who felt like if they had stopped you, they would have been doing something wrong.
Right. I would just add to that, just list as a Dom, listing some basic limits and seeing where they fall, because not everybody has the same limits. Are you okay with being choked? Are you okay with a little bit of blood? Things like that.
And never assume that someone's wearing a collar does not mean you can pull on it.
Absolutely not. One of the big things is ask before you touch someone. I don't care how minor it is. Ask before you touch someone. That's their body, not yours. Yes, it is. Hey, Mal, how many times did you yell at me last night?
A couple. I guess something that I have an issue with. All of my expressions and things that I do is usually something I do on my own, because a private life I tried to keep in the past got blown into the open by people that I don't even know who they are. And it's broken a lot of trust in opening up to other people. And I feel there's a lot of community here. And when I run my scenes, I'm usually the dominant control of things, and people look to me for advice and things like that. But that softer side of myself, I have a very, very hard time opening up to other people. And I don't know how to get past that block sometimes.
I have to say, I struggle with a lot of something similar. I'm not little with people. I'm way, way, way too vulnerable with that, and that hurts. I'm silly, and I love, and I'll socialize with everybody, and I can have friends, but I don't really have best friends. Because there's a certain amount of trust that is very hard for me. And I'm in therapy. I am my personal self trying to get over this.
Everyone needs therapy. Yes.
Okay. I don't think everyone needs therapy, but I think everybody should go to therapy. Whether it be you're just ejecting your daily emotions, or hey, what's going on today? Because something might happen to you that you might not realize, this actually cuts a bit deeper than you think. But with the trust thing, it is hard. It's very hard to
It's got to be a matter of the right person taking the time and energy and effort to earn that trust from you and to make you comfortable with them to the point where you can open up. And that can be a long journey, and the one who takes the time to walk it with you is someone that will love you for the rest of your life.
You got this, cutie.
I just want to say you're not alone there. My sister's best friend got mad at me over something really small and stupid, and they outed me as a furry and a baby to my family, my friends, my coworkers, and And I know it can be hard to get over those, things in life when something so hurtful happens. But all of us have that inner strength to pull through, and you are still there.
Aww. I do want to cry today. Shut up. That's a trigger reaction from me, actually, and I don't know if anybody else does it. I'm not used to kind things, so I instantly tell people to fuck off. And I try to do it in a very jokingly way. It's just very odd for me because I did not hear that growing up, so that's... My brain rejects it, and I substitute my own reality.
I feel that one spiritual.
Gentlemen, all at once.
Also, it is okay to cry.
I see your little hand coming up, yes.
It's funny you say fuck off because those are tattooed on my knees.
Come again? Wait, don't come again, but what?
And I got a little beat. Here's the fuck leg. And the rock leg.
But kind of going back to one of the things that was said about Little Space and the need to return to those points to get some bit of emotional growth that you weren't able to have as a child. Something that I have had to tell a lot of people. It's okay to cry. You don't have to be happy all the time. It's okay to feel your emotions. It's okay to cry. Everyone needs to cry sometimes. Not at all.
Take your emotions as they come, don't hide them. That's all you got to do.
I saw you coming in or kind of watching. Do we need to get out of here? Or you're not? Are you staff? Oh, okay. I thought one of the staff was starting to stalk us. The panel is officially over, but like I said, the next one's not for a while, so I don't think there's any rush. But the main part of it is over. If people want to just stay and talk or whatnot, and when we do need to clear the space, we can head out into the lobby. But yeah, anybody else got anything they want to add to stuff? What you got?
I just had a question, more or less directed. You mentioned you did knife play earlier.
Yes.
What all's involved?
So
is it a sensation play thing, or you utilize it as a...
So for me, knife play is an extension of sensation play. The blade of a knife, the tip, the black, the flat, even the handle and the grip. Everything on a knife is a different feel to be used to get different sensations on the body. My knives in any scene that I have ever done do not draw blood. That is one of my limits. I will not cut you.
Okay, so it's not like cutting blade, right? Well, blade. So I differentiate the two between knife play and blade play. Knife play is like using a knife in play. Blade play would be like. Exactly, but I also know images that are into blade. And I'm like,
yes.
Is there any experience with that?
So, when it comes to that, and specifically the cutting, there are people who do want the slice and do want to bleed from it, and that is something. It's very surface level. You don't want to go into the meat. Like, that is getting beyond the point of hurt. That is getting to harm.
Right, exactly.
And there's a big difference between hurt and harm. Big difference. Yeah. But yeah, there are people out there who do the cutting and everything else that typically falls more into the line of blood play. But yeah, it's a different thing. Knife play is more the sensation. And now, don't get me wrong, the knives I use are sharp. They can cut. I don't use them to cut.
I guess what I'm asking, I want to talk to you more about this. This is something I want to do as a
Alright, you want to meet up outside after we all wrap up?
Yeah.
Alright, love that.
Silver Gattoman, he bought me a coffee. Silver Gattoman, here is the song for thee. He likes to video all the panels at the cons. You should go and watch them whether they are short or long. Silver Gattoman, you video that's not a jibe. All of you go to his YouTube channel and like and subscribe.